We are back on the VCS English Analyst Desk. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀𝗀. I am still your host, and by my side are still 𝘀𝗀𝗆 and 𝘀𝗀𝗃. I'm so happy that you both are joining me.
We are ready for this series. This is the series of the week. 𝘀𝗶𝗏 versus GAM. I'm just like, I've been waiting for this the whole week, so I hope it delivers.
Yeah,
I think that's a bit of
GAM
an
versus...
understatement. Yeah,
GAM
I think it's a bit of an
versus Servant is
understatement, I would say. And yeah, I mean, we
Oh,
are
yeah,
just
unlucky.
talking over each other right now. Either way,
Yeah, I
unlucky.
don't
We
know.
tried. And yeah, we are waiting for this series for like more than 1 week, I would say. Even I mean, as soon as GAM was like having the small resurgence that GAM was looking like the best team of the preseason patch for sure, we were like waiting for this banger to unfold. And 𝘀𝗏, I mean, on their side, I mean, they have like not dropped many games themselves, but they definitely had some shakiness, especially in the early game. This is usually where GAM tends to punish them. So we're really looking forward to see a very good game this far, and I think that maybe it will be the first loss of 𝘀𝗏.
So yeah, you talked about the early game of GAM, and that is the big weakness of 𝘀𝗏. So let's talk a little bit more about that. 𝘁𝗀𝗏 and 𝘁𝗏, they are both very good in the mid jungle, as mid jungle duo to get leads in the early game and snowball them. So 𝘀𝗀𝗆, according to that, what is the exact task for 𝘁𝗀 and 𝘬𝗏 in the early game against 𝘁𝗀𝗏 and 𝘁𝗏?
Okay, so now this probably looks a bit like a bad mouth to 𝘁𝗀, but my main advice to him is to just take it more easily. In the last few weeks, he's been very fiery. Let's say fiery. He has taken some very aggressive initiative that sometimes backfired. So we know that 𝘁𝗀 has the skill to be the best jungler in the league, and he's shown it in the first few weeks. And in the games they won, despite the mistakes, he still looked great. So he is the great player that 𝘀𝗏 needs, but also he needs to clean up a bit of his early game decision, because sometimes they end up dragging 𝘀𝗏 with them. So first off, 𝘁𝗀, play a bit more conservatively. Make sure that 𝘬𝗏 is ahead. Of course, 𝘁𝗏 is a great solid laner, so it won't be easy to allow 𝘬𝗏 to roam. But if they can allow 𝘬𝗏 and 𝘁𝗀 to move towards the bot lane to set up Artemis and 𝗀𝗏, which are the main carries of 𝘀𝗏, then this should look like solid series for 𝘀𝗏, and it should be also what they are looking to attack on GAM's side, since the bot lane of 𝘁𝗀𝗃, and I assume that they play 𝘁𝗃, and B should be the target that the 𝘀𝗏 should punish.
I mean, we talked a little bit about 𝘁𝗀𝗏 and 𝘁𝗏. I wanted to introduce 𝘁𝗀 and 𝘬𝗏 first, but let's talk about maybe the two biggest carries of GAM esports, 𝘁𝗀𝗏 and 𝘁𝗏. 𝘀𝗃, what do you think what is their task, or what is the task of this mid and jungle duo against 𝘀𝗏?
The task is certainly to like destabilize 𝘀𝗏 in the early game, because this is usually where GAM likes to strike, and what they have done all split. And 𝘀𝗏 also has a glaring weakness there. I mean, 𝘁𝗀 has looked very awful in some of his games. Even against Team Flash, he was looking rough. Against 𝘁𝗀𝗃, he had some troubles, just got invaded early, and definitely couldn't find his way back into the game. And couldn't afford to have that against GAM, so GAM likely wants to strike there. And with 𝘁𝗏's weird picks coming out, maybe we see his Karthus again. I've also seen 𝘁𝗀 play Karthus on his own to maybe like put a little bit of a statement against 𝘁𝗏, and that didn't work out quite as well, I would say. I mean, he played okay. It was still enough to win the game, but it wasn't like a pick where GAM is like afraid of him, I would say. And like the most important thing for me will be a Viktor pick on either side in the series, because we haven't seen 𝘁𝗏 yet on it, and 𝘁𝗏 actually played in the top lane, so maybe that will be one of the takeaways from 𝘬𝗏, because 𝘬𝗏's Viktor has been absolutely insane.
Absolutely. There's also one pick that I'm looking forward to, which is the Zed. We have seen 𝘁𝗀𝗃. You made the comparison between 𝘁𝗀, 𝘁𝗀𝗃, and 𝘁𝗏. 𝘁𝗀𝗃 tried to play Zed, and it didn't manage. He didn't manage to pull it off. Whereas 𝘁𝗏, one of the historically greatest junglers in the league, has the one player that has played this pick consistently and made it work, which is absolutely not trivial, and basically hinges on GAM playing really well in the mid game, knowing which lanes to impact and how to rotate in the mid game to make sure that Zed can catch someone off guard and break the opponent's rotations. So yeah, 𝘁𝘁, this pick, if he manages to pull it off against Cerberus, it will be kind of a perfect way to show how GAM shines and how can they punish the opponent team. Yeah.
Another interesting point 𝘀cie mentioned before the series is that actually maybe 𝘁𝘁 and 𝘁𝗀𝗃 are not the most important players or not the biggest winning conditions for GAM in the series, because he said, okay, 𝘁𝗀𝗃 is the better top laner to punt, so this could be a winning condition as well. 𝘀cie, do you think that playing around 𝘁𝗃𝗃 is maybe the secret key for GAM to win the series?
I think it could definitely be like one fallback option for them. I think usually they would still play on the mid lane jungle duo and maybe also the bot lane if they pull out the spicy stuff like the 𝘀𝗃𝗃 bot lane they played once before. I mean, usually you would expect the bot lane to be like the winning matchup for the side of Cerberus, but OneOp and Artemis recently haven't looked too hot, and I think that might be like even with a standard bot lane be okay for 𝘁𝘁 or Style, depending on who AD carry plays, and be of course in the bot lane as a support to play around. But 𝘁𝗃𝗃 definitely individually has been looking like the better top laner, or maybe even the best top laner of the league, and he can basically play anything. And both Pan and Pos haven't really been the strong set for Cerberus, all split. So I think 𝘁𝗃𝗃 might be like one of the keys to victory for the side of GAM.
Let's stick a little bit onto Artemis. 𝘁𝑧, Artemis, we talked a lot about him this season. He is a very great AD carry, maybe the best AD carry throughout the whole VCS. What do you think? How dependent is Cerberus on this AD carry on Artemis?
Very much, meaning that 𝘀cie mentioned that he had a few laps of judgments, but still, if we watch his like stats, like damage per game or damage per minute, those stats are not real. He's like towing on the 700 and plus damage per minute, which is absolutely out of my understanding. I have no idea how Artemis manages to pull it off. And he also has a very wide champion pool, can put up a lot of threats with the 𝘁𝗃. I think he's been the only AD carry to play it, and the 𝘁𝗃. So has also a lot of curveballs. Can play the meta. Like his 𝘁𝗃 is one of the best. So he provides literally everything that Cerberus might need. It's not the only threat in Cerberus, because even if Artemis is not set up, Yado can still provide. Pan has had a few solid games, and 𝘁𝗀 is also there to provide some great mechanical outplays. But usually their bread and butter is to play around Artemis and make sure that OneOp keeps him alive. And like his numbers show already how important is it for Cerberus to set him up.
And one pick I also want to throw in before we go into the picks and bets later on is the Caitlyn pick. Both teams have lost a game against Caitlyn each, and they tend to not lose many games in total. So this might be like one detrimental part, one crutch maybe that would be very good to have as an asset as a winning team. But there's like one key thing to remember here. It is that 𝘁𝘁 has not played a Caitlyn game at all in this split, but Style did, and Style is the AD carry that tends to play a lot less games for GAM. I still wouldn't expect them to go for Style, but this might be like one way for them to maybe throw the bot lane of Cerberus off guard. I actually expect 𝘁𝘁 to play here, and likely the Caitlyn to just get banned here, and we will likely just see maybe a 𝘁𝗃 bot lane coming out again, or maybe Artemis going for his weird picks in the 𝘁𝗃 as he played before, and even one lane against Caitlyn with a single gank, which was very impressive of him. Or, as earlier mentioned by me, that also GAM goes for the spicy stuff in the 𝘀𝗃𝗃 bot lane.
You mentioned the 𝘁𝗃 pick, and concerning that the AD carries are equally likely to be played. Style has played a lot of 𝘁𝗃 games in the past, four games at least. It's the most played champion of this player. So considering that 𝘁𝗃𝗃 is maybe the winning condition for GAM, and they want to play top lane as the strong side and bot lane as the weak side, do you think, 𝘁𝑧, that there is still a possibility for GAM to play with Style instead of 𝘁𝗃 in the bot lane?
Absolutely, yes. 𝘁𝗃 has generally been the better performer of the two. Both AD carries more or less cover the same role. So GAM does not make a strategic difference between Style and 𝘁𝗃. However, I think it could make a lot of sense if they chose to put style in, park him on some weak side scaling AD carries. J.ix was the perfect example. Also, I think he can play like the Jhin. Also works even if it's not scaling pick. But in general, it would allow GAM to focus more resources on the top side, which is their bread and butter. So especially against Cerberus, which is not a bot lane that they can expect to punish easily, I think there's a window where starting style makes sense. I would still start 𝘀𝘀, but I would not be surprised if style has 1 or 2 games today.
So we talked about important picks in the past. We talked about the Caitlyn, but one pick you both mentioned before we went into the broadcast is the Viktor pick. That the Viktor pick will maybe be one of the most important picks throughout the series. 𝘀cie, why is this pick so important?
Viktor is a very important pick because of usually, I mean, Viktor has always been a great scaling pick that is went kind of under the radar in my opinion, but with the preseason patch, he's basically an asset that you cannot really ignore because he works so well with the Crown of the Shattered Queen, with the new preseason item we have. He becomes just such a weight boss with the passive mechanic you have with it. As you take damage, you get a damage reduction that is very, very strong, and also get additional AP, which is something Viktor really strives of. He in general is also a great control mage that controls zones, can also, like, to some extent even sidelane a little bit and play against these melee champions. And with his area abilities, with the Chaos Storm, with the Gravity Field, he can just do so much in these team fights. And we know the VCS is a skirmish-heavy region, so even especially there, the Viktor strives as a pick. And I really look forward to either seeing it on the ban list or maybe even as a pick for 𝘀𝗀 or 𝘀𝗀, or maybe we see another curveball and actually 𝘁𝗀 plays it for the first time against the strongest opponent. That would also be something that would be quite a banger. And I expect the greatest mid laners of the league, or any professional mid laner in general, to be able to play at least a decent Viktor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are heading into the big and ban phase of the game of the week. Cerberus Esports facing GAM Esports. GAM is undefeated on the preseason patch. Let's see if Cerberus can change this fact. Clockwork, the Syndra ban and the Cannon ban, no surprise so far.
Absolutely, they start taking away all the comfort picks, all the power picks in this patch. Also on the side of GAM, LeBlanc removed, Caitlyn removed, Lucian removed. They're already targeting Artemis. They know their food, and it's not in the bot lane. So now I expect Cerberus to start with their comfort, like probably mid jungle or mid bot lane is a good start for Cerberus. We see Twisted Fate being picked, and here, as 𝘀𝘀cie mentioned, Viktor could be a great answer. It's not it, but I'm still about to tell him, like, the ultimate can interrupt the teleport. Rise still very valuable, can neutralize the matchup and prevent the Twisted Fate from roaming too much. And as I said, style, as you said also, 𝘀𝘀cie, we have style, we have the J.ix, so we already know what GAM is cooking up.
And I think there might be like some mind game going on because neither team did actually go for the Viktor yet. And we are already seeing 2 mid layers. Maybe it is still a little bit of an asset for 𝘀𝗀, but you don't really need to take away the Viktor when the Twisted Fate is locked on the other side. So maybe Cerberus has had like in the top of their head that maybe there's like some strat planned ahead of them against the Viktor. So they didn't really default to picking it and went with the Twisted Fate instead, who will like try to establish some priority in the mid lane and just go for global roams to the bot lane or to the top lane to enable those lanes. And like this, just now GAM got both the J.ix and also the 𝘀𝑇e, who would work well into the TFs to make it hard for him to generate this priority. But on the other side, Ego this time with an early game jungler that can really do a lot with the Jarvan here. They can already do some decent skirmishing and already gank level 2 or level 3. And so this already forced a little bit of a change of style on the side of Cerberus. And speaking of a change of style, style is in for 𝘀𝘀 for GAM.
This is like very confusing to me. Like Cerberus picked Thresh, but not an AD carry. They're keeping their AD carry pick for the second phase, even if J.ix has already been shown. This tells me that they really want to put Ego on something like that before GAM can throw bans to Ego. They want to pick for him something that he's comfortable with and he can impact the early game and ganks all the lane, hence the Jarvan. So yeah, this is my explanation for why Cerberus is holding their pick, their AD carry pick to the last. But this also gives GAM the opportunity to throw more bans towards Artemis. And the 𝘀𝗰𝗋 is already gone, and it's the third AD carry ban. Now, Unofficial, like, they are really trying to punish Artemis with good reason. So now we're probably going to see some of the curveballs with the 𝘁𝗋 and the 𝘁𝗋. I expect something spicy now for Cerberus.
I do the same. I actually think that 𝘁𝗋 is not even that unlikely right now, because maybe there's also some mind game going on the side of Cerberus aggressively, that they are just now baited in GAM to pick the Jinx on their side and have Jinx without really the peel support that they have, because the Thresh was taken away by their side as Cerberus locked that one in. And the Jinx now is of course a strong lane, but if they manage to lose like one more lane already, and maybe there's like a 𝘁𝗋 in the Jinx's face and the Jinx has no appeal against the opposition she faces, it might just be all over for the side of Style and will not be easy to play for them. And with the vehicle now locked in, there's also another pick that is not that strong early on the side of GAM. And maybe now with the rounding up the last two picks on the side of Cerberus, they managed to really make a trap for GAM, as they maybe not just locking 𝘁𝗋 or 𝘁𝗋 as 𝘁𝗋 said, and another top lane pick. But as now I got proven wrong, it will be the misfortune and something that I do not like as much.
I mean, the misfortune is actually a big surprise. We haven't seen her in a while. Artemis, he's known for some interesting picks, as we've seen with the 𝘁𝗋 last week. 𝘁𝗋, how do you like this pick?
It's a bit of a vintage pick. It was very popular on the Worlds patch, but that's 4 patches ago, which means that it's not really meta, but it still makes a lot of sense with the Jarvan, with the set that they rounded up their composition with. And this makes up for very powerful team fights that we know Cerberus enjoys. So also can make up for a very great lane, very poke lane, and this can be very annoying for the Jinx despite the range disadvantage. I also like here the set can provide the front line in addition to the Jarvan. So this looks like a very classic composition, front-to-back team fight. Cerberus wants to go as safe as possible and play their comfort against GAM here.
So we have seen the whole pick and ban phase. Both teams are complete. 𝘀𝗰𝗋 with the Gnar pick against the set. So 𝘀𝗀, starting with you, what do you think about the drafts? Who has the advantage going into game number 1?
I really like the Gnar into the set because it's a very decent counter matchup. I think you all remember, I mean, you especially, 𝘀𝗀, you remember the Cactus against Gnar with the set matchup, where Gnar was absolutely stomping the set, and yeah, it's just a range melee matchup. It's really good, and need to hurry up a little bit, I think. And I like that the wombo combo aspect of the Cerberus draft is a misfortune Jarvan going up, but I think they kind of mismatched their own style with that, and this is one of the reasons why I think that GAM has the edge here. Also, I mean, 𝘀𝗰𝗋 on the winning top lane matchup is something that's not easy to play against, and I also like the Ryzen to TF on their side. I think there's like one small curveball for the MF Thresh lane to just take over here, but I think GAM has it at the end.
So 𝘁𝗋, quickly from what do you think, who will win game number 1?
GAM picked a very scaling composition with the Ryze and the Jinx. They usually play for the early game, so if they can make it work even in the early minutes and prevent Cerberus to enter the teamfight stages, they of course, this game is GAM's.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the best game VCS can show us, and of course, for the best game, we have the best casters. We can give you 𝘀𝗋, and you will take it over. I am very glad to introduce you to.
Can you hear it your way? That slow build-up of hype, the drums of war thumping away as the two best teams in our league take to Summoner's Rift. GAM versus Cerberus. GAM, who perhaps would be undefeated were it not for a shaky week 1, and Cerberus, who are unconquered, 11-0. This is going to be an absolute banger, and I wouldn't want to cast it with anyone else.
Oh, I'm so hyped for this one. GAM is also not only unbeaten in series since week 1, they're also unbeaten in game score. In single individual games on preseason patch, no one has been able to overcome this team on this new meta. They have had maybe the best meta read, and once again coming in with the Jinx. We've seen so much Jinx from all the teams, but some newer or older picks with a Na in top lane. It's a little bit surprising to me as well. And B back
Bit of
on
a
the
𝘀cie
Nautilus.
classic, though.
Oh, for sure, for sure. One of his most confident and comfortable champions. Still, this draft was not something I expected to see from both teams. We have some curveballs thrown, especially for Cerberus. Artemis MF. So we know Artemis plays absolutely every champion, but MF is not the one I expected to see as the hyper carry for his team.
Yeah, look, I think this is... it's definitely an interesting pick. I think the desk called it out. It's just going back to the old hot pot. You have the 𝗀𝗏, you have the MF. This looks like it's something that they really prepared. I think they knew that GAM was going to throw as many bans as they could towards Artemis. Of course they were. And, you know, 𝘀cie was there dissecting the draft, going, it's okay, we'll just prep MF 𝗀𝗏 and they're not going to ban the MF. And, you know, they were right. But on the other side, you have Style in. They put trust in him. Didn't bring in 𝑑ivkid for this one. They kept up the system. I just realized I said 𝘀cie. I meant Cerberus, of course. My mistake. But the Jinx is in. That's a hyper carry.
Yeah, and Style usually is a little more focused on team fights compared to 𝘀𝑑ivkid, who really likes to go all in the laning phase already, likes to group up with the Bs, more specific picks, let's call them, like the set support. So B, 𝘀𝑑ivkid together like to go full-on early game aggression into the laning phase, while Style is more focused on putting out the damage in the team fights. So GAM trying to match Cerberus' best possible look, which is the team fighting phase. Let's see if that's the way to go for GAM to beat this team. I was expecting them to go more towards what they've shown us in the last few weeks, which is very bot lane focused, with dives coming early on and just dives overall being executed in the early game to get a huge lead. They finally surpassed Cerberus as the #1 early game team again. Cerberus for most of the split held this record, but now GAM has crested that 2k gold mark on average at 50 minutes, which Cerberus can't quite do, but there's Levi.
First strike comes in from Levi. 𝘀𝗏
No!
goes low, but 𝘀𝗏 gets away.
𝘁𝗏 misses the Q. There was a free kill there. And on the retaliation in bot lane.
Yep, they're going to move in the flay onto B. He does hook away. Does he have the flash? He does, but he can't flash the knock-up. He's going to go down. First blood will be secured by Cerberus in the Clash of the Titans.
First strike to Cerberus. They make the same attempt at the same time, but on different lanes, and it's actually Cerberus striking first in the bot lane. This is exciting to see to me, because I expected GAM to dominate the bot lane with a lot of attention from the solo laners, from the jungler, with dives coming in, but instead it's Cerberus' bot lane that sets up the kill. Nicely done from Ron and from Ego. Perfect flash. And Ego back to a ganking jungler after playing so many more egotistical champions.
Okay. I was concerned with why B didn't flash there, but it was actually a flashed flag and drag, so nothing he could do. Yeah, I missed Ego's flash on the initial play. Just well played there, 100% a kill. Nothing B could do.
And we see how both teams are looking at this early game and know how important it is. Everyone investing their flashes in the very first play. Look at this, 3 flashes down from the side of Cerberus, 2 flashes down from GAM. So even though Cerberus invested a lot of resources, GAM did the same on the other side of the map. So it's just a pure advantage for Cerberus. And now the question begins, can they snowball this into the later stages? It's just 1 kill. I might be a little early, but
a little bit.
I was expecting this to be, can Cerberus hold up to GAM's early game pressure and beat them in the late game? But now they are ahead in the early game, so maybe I have to reverse my script a little bit.
Yeah, and with the early gank by Levi not getting anything done, actually I think they've missed an opportunity to dive pun in the top lane. Set is very diveable pre-6. I know he has the haymaker that makes it scary. It's really not that hard to wait out. But once he has access to that showstopper, there's just so much back-to-back CC that it's hard not to go one for one, which is obviously not what you want. So I think we're going to get a top lane isolation in this game. 𝘀𝗏 was pointed out by 𝘀cie as a bit of an X factor. I think we're going to be waiting to see that in this one.
We have everyone grouping around to Dragon. This is typical GAM stuff. They are the most focused Dragon team in the league. 70% Dragon rate, by far the #1 team. Also the worst team when it comes to Herald percentage. So they have clearly written their script on the wall. We only care about the dragons. And even though they lose the first kill in the bot lane, they still get the first dragon. A little bit against the run of play, especially considering 𝘁𝗊𝗋 is dominating top lane, while Artemis is ahead in bottom lane. So maybe a missed opportunity for Cerberus to break this GAM Dragon Snowball, as they were not perceptive enough and didn't read Levi's movements. So it's a nice start in the objective-focused game for the side of GAM, and 𝘀𝗀𝗋 is going to be very happy with this.
I'm sure he is. As the big thing to notice here as well is they get that dragon, which they often do, but they often trade Rift Herald setup for it. They opt into that, so it's not like it's a misplay, but this time they got the movement so early, they kill the dragon at 6.5 minutes. They can go for the Rift Herald play as well if they want to. They can be the big winners in this one.
Now take a look at the minimap. 𝘁𝗀 just used some time from this top lane to invade very deeply through the mid lane bush, actually, or mid lane position, rather, to place a nice ward and also spot Levi's positioning. So they have full information on Levi and where he is on the map, his whereabouts on the top side, and they also brought a potential flank ward into the Rift Herald area. So 𝘁𝗀 is already looking ahead for the next 2 minutes and trying to find a way into the backline. So this ward where 𝘁𝗀𝗋's just walking by. Let's see if 𝘁𝗀𝗋 or Levi have any idea that this is placed here.
They don't have a way to get rid of it. I guess they've got that one control ward from Levi. I'm not sure that's where you want to put it. So I don't think they have any idea that that ward is there and no way to deal with it even if they did. Oh, Yado's on the wrong side of the lane here. Needs to be careful. There could be a Spectral Maw coming.
No flash for him, but no flash. Oh, flash for Levi is ready. So this is certainly an opportunity. We see GAM swapping for the Herald, but look at this ward. I'm excited. I think 𝘁𝗀 set this up minutes in advance, and we have Yado spotting them all.
Ult. They know exactly where everyone is. They also know that 𝘁𝗀𝗋 is not with them right now, but no chance to engage while they had that advantage. GAM do manage to evacuate.
We have both supports still level 5, so no one able to get their support player to the level 6 mark. I'd say more important for B than for Ron. The box is nice to have as a disengage tool, but the engage from B is much more valuable, so maybe a slight advantage there in the fight for Cerberus.
Ward's gone. It's timed out. Oh, Ron gets hooked, but a good play to get himself out of there. No follow-up CC. As they hook in, the ball time is there. Yado will pick up that first kill onto B. Style thunking in some rockets from the side. Can't actually get it done. Cataclysm used, burning that Jinx's flash. Just getting rid of that one before the main fight breaks out. 𝘁𝗋𝗋 in Mega Gnar, gonna move forward, use that ult onto 𝘁𝗀𝗋, just flashes away. He knew Levi was coming, didn't want to mess with it, as now the rest of Cerberus can move up the river and start that Rift Herald.
Cerberus starting this game crispy clean, great communication, knowing that Levi was approaching, so 𝘁𝗀 just burns the flash, stays safe. GAM is still fencing their chances. Style back to half HP.
No Mega Gnar though, so this is going to be a hard one. They come over the wall. Oh, it's a bit of a catch onto 𝘁𝗀𝗋. He uses the showstopper to reposition, and Lantern's out. Oh, sorry, Lantern's out was 𝘁𝗀𝗋, of course, as that is going to be the set falling down. Style will join him in the grave though, and look at the damage going in onto Levi. Was using that set soul to use a haymaker.
Look at Ego.
𝘁𝗀𝗋 on the run. Ego over the wall with the flag and drag, but he gets bound up. Uses that stopwatch early on. The cards come through, and he's drawn aces as he takes down Levi. 𝘁𝗀𝗋 slowed up by the Make It Rain. It will be raining his blood momentarily, but it's answered back onto the MF 𝘁𝗀𝗋 with a double flay. This is an incredibly close fight here, 𝘁𝗋𝗋, but the hyper stacks will come in. 𝘁𝗋𝗋 picks up the kill. B bearing down with him, and still the Rift Herald stands.
Exactly, the Herald the only survivor really, because both teams are definitely bleeding after this fight. What an amazing opening to our first game of this series. We anticipated it for such a long time. We looked at the schedule, baiting our breath, because finally GAM clashing against Cerberus again. And so far I've been very impressed with Cerberus. The back half of the fight actually goes well for GAM. This was a game-winning fight if Cerberus walks out without dying at the end. But some individual plays from B, also from 𝘁𝗀𝗋 to secure some kills on the back half. Cerberus still with a huge advantage though, and let's look at this again. As he pointed out in the play-by-play, 𝘁𝗋𝗋 is basically useless. He does flash the engage, so he does get away, doesn't die immediately. Also, good mechanics displayed by Style.
By B. And B just flash autoed the set. Set actually gets out there if he doesn't do that.
He also gets level 6 in the fight. But no fight. We have another fight.
That we do, and look at this Misfortune Ultimate your way. It is absolutely ruining 𝘀𝗀. They played the gambit. They did not come out on top. 400 health on the Rift Herald. 𝘀𝗀 doesn't have access to Smite. Not sure who got that one. I think it was 𝘀𝗏. It was. So they come back. They get a few more kills. They get the eye, and they are here to prove that they are the kings of the VCS.
Oh, that they are. And 𝘀𝗀 especially is the one I want to talk about because he's been struggling the last few weeks. What a performance he's putting in. Just looking at Levi and telling him, I do not respect you. 𝘀𝗀𝗋𝗋 is the only Vietnamese jungler I'm looking at. Levi, who's Levi? I am the best jungler left in the VCS, and he's here to prove a point.
𝘀𝗀 steps up, says two words to Levi. Summer Finals.
Oh, yes.
Remember Summer Finals, mate? Where I gapped you to win the split? The memory's got to be pretty fresh.
And I'm waiting anxiously for this fight to replay, because we didn't see the setup. It was just 𝘀𝗀 walking into the meat grinder. I hope we actually get to see another example of this one, a replay from that fight we missed because of the other replay. But then we might miss another one, because we are moving at an absolutely breakneck pace here.
Yeah, we absolutely are. As the one tower plate was claimed down there. Style not quite completed his mythic compared to 𝘀𝗀𝗋, who has mythic and a half because of those kills and 5 assists. This Misfortune is working out. I know, and quite rightfully, our analyst desk questioned it, but it looks like 𝘀𝗏 knows what they're doing around this bullet time.
And
Rocket comes in, it's a good attempt, but not good enough.
Yeah, for the rest of the series, because this does look very 𝘀𝗏's favorite now, of course we still have a game to cast, but just looking ahead for the next 2, or maybe just 1 early game, does 𝘀𝗀 go for these kind of contests on the Rift Herald again? Because as you pointed out with the first dragon, usually they trade first dragon for first Rift Herald. They have a very, very low Rift Herald control rate, because they usually deprioritize the top side of the map in favor of going for a bot dive and the dragon. This time they got the dragon so early that they actually had the liberty of going into the top side, and this hurt them because they just walked into the team fights. Maybe a little bit of hubris. This team hasn't lost a game in ages, and it's showing that their Rift Herald control is not only bad in stats, it's also not the greatest when you look at the Rift. And 𝘀𝗀 needs to go back to the drawing board and think about if they want to do this again.
But. That is a 40 CS lead for 𝘀𝗀𝗋.
It is.
He is a large lad. So 𝘀𝗀𝗋 is by no means out of this.
So, now we'll have huge problems actually carrying this game, though the enemy team will assist him slightly with the 𝘀𝗀's ultimate coming in. That's another terrain for 𝘀𝗀𝗋 to use his ulti against. I'm not really sure if he how he plans on getting on top of 𝘀𝗀𝗋, because so far in the big team fight victories, 𝘀𝗀𝗋 just had the freest ultimate of all time, so that is 𝘀𝗀𝗋's and Levi's as well, maybe even 𝘁's prime focus on the rest of the game. And yeah, he's in a great position. We know 𝘀𝗀𝗋 as a dominant laner. This is one of the most lane-dominant traditional top laners in the game, and he's very proficient on this pick, so not a huge surprise. I expected Pan to put up a little bit more of a fight there, but 𝘀𝗀𝗋 certainly the hope for his team.
𝘀𝗀𝗋, often the hope for 𝘀𝗏, has just been fed a full tower. They use the Rift Herald bot, he secures the first brick. He is very, very farmed up your way. This Misfortune is going to be absolutely deadly. But of course, the foible with Misfortune is that she doesn't have mobility. If she makes a mistake, she dies. It doesn't matter how far ahead you are.
Speaking
Twisted
of ability,
coming into the top side here. 𝘀𝗀𝗋 wants to get on top of 𝘀𝗀𝗋 here. Pun is going to join the party as well. One more stun card should seal 𝘀𝗀𝗋's fate. And there it is. The deck says die.
Great punish. I believe 𝘀𝗀𝗋's flash was not up at the beginning of the fight. Let's see that again. The replay didn't actually pay close attention to that summoner spell, but I would assume so, because he made no attempt at flashing away, just punishing his earlier flash in the Rift Herald fight, potentially. But regardless, it's a very good roam from Riyado. It's basically free, because there's nothing 𝘀𝗀𝗋 can punish them on the other side of the map with the bot lane being pushed out and mid lane already covered by 𝘀𝗀𝗋. Another kill going over to Riyado. And Riyado, silently, we haven't really talked about him, but 3-0-3, dominating the mid lane matchup, mostly through his roams and positioning.
It's true. It is an interesting situation, though, where your TF is getting so much gold. He does need to be careful here, as Levi wants revenge. Has a red card lock, but with the crown, with a tower to retreat to, he's okay. This is what I want to ask you on. He's got 3 kills. He's got this crown of the Shattered Queen, and he's obviously going to go towards that rapid fire cannon. He's not going to deal a huge amount of damage in this game.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like the Shattered Queen on TF. I know it's absolutely broken on this patch, so maybe it's just, okay, I don't actually want to build this item, but it's just too good to pass. So maybe next patch we're going to see TFs go back to the traditional item. But yeah, I think it's fine. But here's another one.
Coming in, putting them in the pot. Gets the instant double flash.
2 flashes now for the next fight. 𝘀𝗀 did not use his, so this is prime opportunity for Cerberus. I think GAM has to give up the dragon now. 50 seconds left on the timer there. Should also mean Artemis's ulti is very close, getting off cooldown once the dragon is on the map as well. So let's observe closely what GAM's countermeasures are going to be. They could just focus on the Rift Herald spawning right now, but I'm not sure if Cerberus is willing to give this up.
No, they're certainly not. 𝘀𝗀 just TP'd in. They want this. Hook over the wall from Ronop doesn't find anything, but they get info from that ward. If this fight happens, it will be an absolute brawl.
𝘀𝗀 is ready. He's almost mega now. He's
this
walking
is
up
big.
there. But don't take the fight. You don't have flash on your bot lane, and the enemy jungler does have flash. No ultimate yet for 𝘀𝗀. So Cerberus should just calm down a little bit. Just wait a few more seconds, or not.
Oh, there's the hook onto Levi. The show gets stopped, but it's 𝘀𝗀 who gets the kill. And with Levi dead, take your pick of objectives.
Exactly. I guess you don't have to wait if the enemy jungler just ins into you. Levi with an overstep on the Viego. A free dragon over to Cerberus should also be the free Rift Herald if they choose to collect that objective on the other side. And the game is going more and more into Cerberus' favor. GAM really not finding a way to fight back. I think they just need to park Style and 𝘁𝗀 in side lanes and wait for them to scale, because right now they're not winning any fights.
Yeah, I certainly think so. As this is sort of the opposite of how we would have expected this game to go. We expected GAM to come out swinging, get off to an early lead, and then either snowball that lead and win the game, or Cerberus fight back, but we're seeing the opposite. There's not a huge amount to talk about in this replay, as it's just a hook into a face break, into a showstopper, with 𝘀𝗀 whipping the cards across.
Can someone clip that? 𝘀𝗀 just walked in the air very quickly at the enemy team. I like that. Yeah, it's impressive performance, and to turn around from Cerberus' recent performances, which have been still very strong in the late game, and their teamfight coordination is still like crisp, probably the best in the game, in the whole league. But their early games have been a little bit of a point of contention, I'd say, but this one is certainly not. They are so far ahead already. They have 2 dragons under their belts, and I think it's due to them changing the style they wanted to play. Oh, 𝘀𝗀 dropped the E. He can't get away now.
Oh, yeah, he's in some trouble. This was a bit of an ego play as the Heartbreaker comes in, and he donates a big shutdown over to 𝘁𝗀.
Huge oversight to use the E aggressively there on maybe a 50% chance to get the red buff. My apologies. Instead of just keeping it for the escape route. Now a little bit of...
Good job, Artemis. Good awareness.
Just using the ultimate there to clear the wave. But now Style's flash is very close to being up again, so they didn't use the window to punish Style with another ego engage on top of him. Yeah, I think this E was just really bad. And then he shouldn't even flash, because the flash is so much more valuable. You're 99% dead anyway. Just keep the flash and use it to engage on Style the next teamfight again, because he's still Jinx with only a Kraken Slayer, so even if he does have his flash available, it's pretty easy to lock him down. 𝘀𝗀 just panicking on the moment and misplaying, getting GAM a little bit of hope back into this game.
For sure, and look, 𝘀𝗀 lives up to his name sometimes, and you have to be so careful against GAM. You can look at this and say, oh, well, Cerberus is so far ahead, and they're about to try and get ahead further. His Style is absolutely screwed. No chance for him to get out.
Though.
Misfortune will get the first kill, but they're going to try and turn it around as they're moving on in. 𝘀𝗀 surfs through the team. Double kill picked up for Artemis. It's dancing back 1 onto 𝘀𝗀. The Make It Rain will slow them down just enough to whip a gold card. Into the hook. 𝘀𝗀 will be going down. It's a triple kill secured for Artemis. This is a pentakill angle your way, as B is the last one left. No, Set seals it away. Don't worry about it. But it is a huge team fight win. A tower claimed, and Cerberus are dominating.
And my slide came too early at Ego. Yes, he wasted his flash, but he was still aware of the flash timing for style. Perfect engaged, and there's really nothing GAM can do. Overcommitting to the play, chasing a loss when their ADC is already dead. They should have just disengaged immediately. Instead, they all die as well. The game is pretty much over with this Baron falling at more than 5k gold lead. It's going to go to 7k after this objective goes down. Or, oh, Cerberus actually a little too scared, maybe? But they all had no mana, so they couldn't fight. I think that's the biggest point there. Yep, just a good engage on style. 𝘂𝘂 immediately there as well to punish. And then Ego buys so much time with this EQ through... It only hits 2 people, but it still keeps all the attention on him instead of 𝘂𝘂, who was exposed on the other side of the map. Could have died to big punish from the enemy team as well. CC coordination has always been the strong suit of this team, so no surprise.
Perfect face breaker.
Absolutely. All the CC abilities just hitting the mark, and Cerberus off. They hit the ground running today.
Saying running might be an understatement. I think they hit the ground on rollerblades, as they are absolutely flying. It doesn't even feel fair. 𝘂𝘂 will answer back with a tower, excuse me. This Gnar is a bright point for GAM, but it's a bright point in a very dark cave.
Yeah, the issue is there's so much damage on Cerberus' team, even though the ADC is not traditionally the one to kill tanks. Okay, GAM?
They're just going to go forward. This is GAM. They never say die. 𝘁𝗏 just sprinting at Artemis, desperately trying to take him down, but it was a madman's play, and he meets a madman's end. But it is just a 1-for-1 at the moment. Ego has access to the Cataclysm if he can get close enough to 𝘂𝘂, which he can't. So in the end, it's a 1-for-1.
I like the attempt from GAM, but 1 kill is not enough because this is going to be Dragon for the side of Cerberus, which moves them to Soul Point. It will delay slightly maybe the advancement into the map position, but I don't think it's really going to halt the process because a Dragon is just as nice as another tower, and the Baron is still on the cards as well. They used so much to make this dive happen, so in the end, it's a positive play, and I like to see this, especially considering we are playing a best of 3. So seeing some life even from behind in this GAM team in what looks like the first loss in at least 8 games, I think even more than that, is definitely a good sign, but it's not going to amount to much. This game looks done and dusted.
It sure does, but we still have a series on our hand your way. GAM is not a team that goes down easy. They are not a team that just gives up after 1 loss, so definitely can still look towards Game 2 and perhaps a Game 3 here at this barn burner at the top of the table. Style, of course, is still an outside chance to scale. If Cerberus fumble the bag, there's a Rise and a Jinx on the other side, but I mean, it would be one of the greatest fumbles of all time.
Yeah, and Jinx has so many threats to look out for in the team fights. The same is true for Rise as well, but he is slightly more tanky, but even then, we have Ego with all this engage with its lockdown. We even have Artemis. You need to position against Artemis correctly, or he just one-shots you. And then TF permanently pulling out the red card, hopefully not the red cards, hopefully the gold cards. So even if the Jinx gets to a state where she might have the potential to carry, it's gonna be very hard to execute. And with all the bruises being on the strong item breakpoint as well, even just set diving on top of her is going to cause so many troubles for the side of Star.
Yeah. 3.5 items on Artemis, by the way, compared to 2 of the Jinx. This is a bit of an ADC gap, and we expect that. It doesn't matter who the ADC on the other side is. When one side is Artemis, we expect an AD gap. And he has been playing just so fantastically. Cerberus are moving into GAM's jungle, clearing out all of their vision. They want to avoid the classic VCS Baron throw as well as they possibly can.
And they don't have to go for Baron. They can also just wait for 3 minutes, wait for the soul to spawn, and win through that means. But I want to say, 𝘁𝗏𝗋𝗋, we had certain expectations coming into this this series in terms of player matchups, right? We thought 𝘂𝘂 would gap Pun, 𝘂𝑚 probably on current form would gap Ego, and then mid lane is even, ADC is gonna go Artemis' way, support is even. But the biggest upset in this scheme is Ego gapping 𝘂𝑚 in this game, and it's not even close. Ego has had so much more success on this ganking jungler. 𝘂𝑚 wants to...
As you talk about him, he is caught out, has a Guardian Angel though, so he should be okay. He never mind, he doesn't even go down, he just flashes away. That's a perfect play there, and they pick up 2 kills. In goes the showstopper. Set wants to break some faces. The Haymaker slams, breaks a jaw. Ego moves over, puts up his flag, drags over to 𝘁𝗏, who manages to play the Realm Walk perfectly there. But you know Cerberus aren't going to stop. Artemis blast coding over, slowing down Levi. The bullets are raining on in your way, and Cerberus dominate another fight.
It was all just a ruse. The last 2 weeks of Ego's underperforming was just to bait 𝘀𝗀 into thinking they had the better jungle matchup, to go into maybe a little bit of a risky matchup with 𝘂eGo into the J4, not the highest early game impact jungler for Levi. And what a game Ego is putting up here against his main competitor for best jungler of the split. He's just dodging everything, even though he got caught there for the second time of the game.
Play.
Look at his movement to escape from here. This
perfect
ult and then flash. Oh, it's
Perfect.
so well done. He hits another stun even on 𝘁𝗏, or knockup I should say, and 𝘁𝗏 doesn't transform because of that. So everything Ego does in this game, everything he touches turns to gold. It's the perfect game.
It's another one there as well. Like, can you play 𝗀𝗏 better when you get... He got caught. That started with him face-checking a bush and should have died.
Also, Artemis' awareness there on the other side of the fight to use the blast cone to maybe try to offset Levi's path and forcing Levi to flash, which makes Baron easier to take. Another good little play that's not mechanical, just awareness, knowing where to move and how to maneuver these kind of situations. Just shows how strong Cerberus' communication and their overall understanding of the game, especially come mid and late game, is in most cases.
Yeah. Absolutely. The Soul is about 30 seconds away your way. 20 now as Artemis will take down another tower. This MF gets even more gold. And, I mean, it's all gold everywhere your way. Cerberus truly are keeping 𝘀𝗀 locked in the underworld in this one. I mean, I think 𝘀𝗀 could opt to give up the Soul and just desperately try and scale, but this is 𝘀𝗀. They're not going to do that.
Yeah, definitely not. 𝘂𝗏 in a little bit of a precarious spot. He has a nice flank.
Cracks 𝘁𝗏's shield, though. There's the Soul secured. Levi goes in, but he's too late to steal anything away. The face breaker is incredible out of Pun there as well. They use the ult just to make sure 𝘁𝗏 goes down on the other side of the fight. Style will be found, and it's just B to return to the depths. A lonesome Nautilus. Cerberus, they have Baron, they have Infernal Soul, they have a 12k gold lead, and your way, they have a game won.
That they do, and 𝘀𝗀 was back to the drawing board. The first loss on the preseason pageant, it wasn't close. They had no chance in this game. Cerberus dominating from start to finish with a new composition. All of their players stepping up huge, especially also want to shout at 𝘂𝗏, whom we haven't talked about much in this game. But what a performance from this TF as well. Everyone just looking amazing in the team fights. Their coordination has always been great. This Cerberus is here to play. They are here to not secure first place by losing to 𝘀𝗀 and then winning the other games. No, they want to 2-0 𝘀𝗀. They want to strike fear into their opponents and move into the postseason as the clear favorites.
They want to assuage our doubts your way because you know we have them. We're looking at Cerberus and going, you've done this before in regular splits. You've done this before. Can you do it in playoffs? And I mean, it's not playoffs yet, but when you can beat your main competitor like that, it's hard to imagine you can't pull it off again on the even bigger stage. We need to go catch our breaths. I think 𝘀𝗀 might need to join us in that one, but we're going to go to a quick break, and then the VCS English analyst desk is going to try and figure out what the hell just happened. Don't go anywhere. The action will be back soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back on the VCS English analyst desk. Joining me are still 𝘀𝗏 and 𝘀𝗏. What a game one it was. Cerberus Esports, they actually learned how to play the early game, 𝘀𝗏. What happened there?
Yeah, what happened there? Really good question. I think everyone was just smurfing. Pun was really really playing well on the weak side, I would say. I mean, he was playing set into 𝗏, a matchup we are somewhat familiar with, which is not that great to play for the set. And of course, I mean, mostly want to highlight the mid and jungle duo there of 𝘂𝗏 and Ego. Ego is absolutely jungle diffing Levi there. a rare sight, to say the least, and a very welcome surprise as well. And Yado, not just fate, he was always letting the good goal cards onto the Jinx, and yeah, maybe Style into the Jinx. I mean, Style went the cleanse, he went the Kraken Slayer, and you do more damage with the Kraken Slayer in general, but maybe with the Gale Force you would do more because you can actually survive for a second. And overall, really well played and very well punished from the side of Cerberus, because the Jinx really had no escape.
Before we talk a lot more about the outstanding performances of the players, 𝘀𝗀, you have prepared a replay for us. Can you go through this replay with us?
Absolutely, and it's the crucial moment where Cerberus showed their true colors, when the first true big team fight happens, and from there on, the game is taken over by Cerberus. We see that GAM is trying to prepare for some play in the mid lane. They're trying to get Cryo, and they're preparing a teleport from 𝘀𝗀. He has almost Mega Gnar, and he is resetting, and 𝘀𝗀 just goes in. Look at Yado. Look at Yado's position. He is literally at the crossroads. He can go both ways. Style is caught completely pants down, and he is out of the fight instantly. We can go on with the replay. The teleports immediately come in from both sides, and at this point, GAM is already 4v5, but that's the fight per se is not the crucial moment here. Well, 𝘀𝗀 goes down, but here, at this moment, Cerberus could just reset, just go away. Instead, they choose to go on to push the advantage they have in this team fight and find 2 more kills, and then even the turret, and then they move on to the Baron, which they won't finish. But this team fight, I wanted to use it to show how Cerberus are not just winning the team fight, because the second half was all pressing based on the team fight that you already won. And this is something very unique in the VCS. Most teams just take the team fight wins and back out. Cerberus steamrolls and presses you based on these advantages they build in 5v5, and this is incredible.
I mean, it's so hard to actually point out one of the Cerberus players, but I want to highlight 𝘀𝗀 once again. He had a very good play in this team fight we've just seen, where he put together 3 people off GAM. He landed a lot of very important hooks. We asked ourselves in the draft phase why the Thresh has higher priority compared to the AD carry pick for Artemis. 𝘀𝗀, do you think it's because 𝘀𝗀 is just the best Thresh player in the whole VCS?
I think that plays a part. I think 𝘀𝗀 is a very good Thresh, certainly. I mean, if he's the best, I'm not quite sure, but I think he makes a very good argument for that with that game. And I think most importantly, it is because of the lantern ability. You just would have wanted the Thresh on the side of the Jinx here for Style, so Style has some safety. Also, like, the laning difference was kind of huge this game. I mean, there weren't really any 2v2 kills going on for the side of Artemis and 𝘀𝗀, but they were still getting pretty decent CS leads. Also, the Wombo combo worked really well together with 𝘀𝗀 and his 𝗁𝗏. Also, 𝘁𝗏 into 𝘁𝗏 was working wonders for them in the team fight. It was one of the main reasons that caught maybe GAM off guard a little bit. And I think it was maybe a little bit of a trap that you give over the Jinx to the red side here on the side of Cerberus and just, let them have Jinx without Thresh and, pick the Thresh yourself away. So Jinx is there without any safety options. And Style didn't have any fun in this game, let's be honest.
What's actually pretty sad is that Pun had a very decent game as well against 𝘀𝗀, and we can't highlight that because compared to the other performances of the players in Cerberus, he looked just okay, but the haymakers he landed in the team fights 𝘀𝗀 were actually pretty insane.
Every player on Cerberus showed they had insane mechanical outplays at various points of the game, and even Pun, which is usually what we point as the weak point of Cerberus, he had incredible engages, incredible PL moments where, like the team fights that I showed before, he managed to get the stun that also triggered the snowball of the team fight. So this Cerberus is looking like a very well-oiled machine where how they work as a team allows everyone to shine on their picks, and it's just a beauty to watch. And here, going in the second draft, they also have it very easy because they've had the advantage on what they want to pick, meaning that they have a lot more freedom. This composition that they tried, even with the set which maybe is not the peak meta in the top lane, or the misfortune which is not very conventional, they still made it work, which means GAM needs to take that into account.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going into the second pick and ban phase of the Clash of the Titans. GAM versus 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀𝘀. 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗀𝗀 leads the series 1-0. GAM is under pressure and bans out the Jarvan against 𝘀cie𝗰𝗶𝗃. Not a big surprise, isn't it?
It really is not a big surprise. I mean, after that performance by 𝘀cie, you kind of have to take away the Jarvan or even pick it yourself. And one thing we said initially before the first draft was the 𝘁𝗏 priority. And that style might be in because he actually plays 𝘁𝗏, while 𝘁𝗏 doesn't. And yeah, style is in. 𝘁𝗏's also first pick for him. And now what I want to see, because Lucian Nami is out of the picture with the Lucian one coming out from GAM, is that they go towards the Jinx Thresh themselves instead of Cerberus, or that maybe Artemis picks in the spicy pick. But honestly, I want to see the Jinx Thresh here, because Jinx also matches surprisingly well against the 𝘁𝗏, can even outrange her with the rocket launcher later on. And I think that this might be the way in for Artemis to do something here. And I also do not hate the Lee Sin pick, but I would much rather have seen the bot lane rotation coming in here too, because now, again, just like in game 1, maybe even GAM now goes for the fresh pick away, so the Jinx would be very vulnerable.
So Clockwork, we have seen Viego on Levi against an early game pick from Ego. Ego now again with the Lee Sin, an early game jungler. Do you think that Levi now has to go for an early game jungler as well to contest Ego?
There's the option for sure. There's the Renekton in the top lane. So this is a stat angle, actually. This is one of the pocket picks of Levi. Can provide engage, but can also be a tank and doesn't need to rely, okay, well, never mind, we're on the Zed. We're absolutely Zedding this game. So forget about initiation, forget about crowd control and setting up plays. He just wants to take the game in his own hands. And I referenced earlier in first draft how this matchup Zed into Lee Sin did not work in Killer Queen's favor against Raktar. This is not an easy scenario for Levi, but again, he is the Zed player. So if there's one that can make it work, he's probably the one.
And maybe he just misunderstood you. Maybe he heard that he would like to have the Zac angle there, but Zac and Zed sound very similar, so that's where he was going there. But everything of that aside, he is a very good Zed, as you just said. And maybe you don't have to pick it that early, though, because you just now gave away the Thresh, which would have been a great asset, of course, for B as well. And gotta say, though, 𝘁𝗏 getting his Renekton is a little bit of a worrying trend, because he is the greatest Renekton of the league, I would say. And also, maybe this time they will actually play around him, so maybe there's some focus going on for Pon, where Pon might have a rough time later in the game, because he just maybe gets focused out in the early game by Levi and gets ganked a lot there. But Jinx Thresh definitely also a scary prospect for Cerberus, and I hope that we will see some focus towards the mid lane now, because Twisted Fate already went out, Bax is now out of the picture. I think Cerberus really favors the Twisted Fate over the Victor, even at the current stage, despite them having Yado in the roster. But they might get Victor, as other mid laners are now taking out of the board as well, with the Vice now coming in.
The Mundo ban, GAM are really respecting Cerberus' potential for pocket picks. This is a very wise choice, because Pun has already taken over games on the pick. As you said, 𝘀𝗏𝗃, I'm really looking forward this mid lane. GAM are probably trying to save the 𝘁𝗏 pick for the later part of the draft, but also Cerberus is red side, so they will have an inherent advantage on choosing the counter pick. There's still solo lanes left for Cerberus, so GAM is trying to remove as much top laners to make it harder for Cerberus. And this Victor, as we said, could still be a flex. Mid laner, Yado already played it to great proficiency, so not surprising. But now GAM basically obtain what they wanted, so they can now counterpick the mid lane and offer an advantage matchup to 𝘁𝗏, which needs to be the core for this match. And the Zoe is something that I wanted to see on Cerberus side, because Yado is a pocket pick, is a one trick spot. Zoe, great pick, and together with the Blitzcrank, it's a pick comp that GAM is believing in.
for sure. And I really like the Victor from Yado because it's kind of what we expected with all these plans coming in. The Zoe, of course, goes all in on the early game for GAM. I mean, they have a Caitlyn Blitzcrank bot lane, they have Renekton top lane. I would have also liked maybe a Jace from Pan to even somewhat match the Renekton in the early game, but the Ornn is also fine. It loses lane to the Renekton, but it loses somewhat gracefully, so it is overall fine for them, I think. But with that, I mean, it's very scary because maybe Cerberus just did not pick enough early game overall in their composition. Victor, very, very strong, but not that strong in the first few levels. And also the Ornn, likely not very in priority against the Renekton early on, could have some struggles there. And against the Caitlyn lane, it could be rough for them in the early game. If Ego, however, doesn't in the first few minutes of the game, I think Cerberus is yet again fine to take the game.
So let's start with you, Clockwork. We see the Victor we have talked about a lot in the pre-game analysis before game 1. Do you think we will get a full series, or do you think Cerberus is taking the series 2-0?
There's a lot this game on Ego's shoulders to bridge Cerberus' composition to the late game where they really shine. And GAM, on the other hand, has early game recipe that they need to work with. So my pick here is for GAM. They should should be able to take an early advantage and snowball it to a win.
𝘀cie, you said you think that Cerberus will win and close the series 2-0. Why do you think so?
I think that they might have troubles in the early game here, but I think today, it's just from personal gut feeling that the draft is not also beta late game, but also that Ego just has Levi's number today. So I think, yes, GAM will likely get a few K gold ahead in the early game, but I don't think it will be enough. Also, like, even if they lose like one skirmish to Yado's Victor, it might just be all over for them, as Victor is such a detrimental pick in the current meta. And if one skirmish goes wrong, GAM knows they are on the clock, kind of, and they might just choke it out and give Yado too much in this game. So my gut feeling tells me that Cerberus has it this time.
Ladies and gentlemen, and with that predictions of my beautiful analyst, I am pleased to introduce you to our, to the best casting duo in the world. 𝘀cie and 𝗀𝗋𝗋 will take it over. Keep the hype on, ladies and gentlemen. 𝘀cie and 𝗀𝗋𝗋 for you.
Oh, you build us up like that, I can only hope that we deliver, but with someone like you beside me, 𝗀𝗋𝗋, I'm sure that we can. Game 1 was a bit of a slaughter, to say the least, but GAM have picked themselves a very aggressive comp. They are not saying die, they are back in this one. And I love this Caitlyn pick for style.
So, this is more what I expected coming into today. GAM with all early game. We have Levi and Zed again. 𝘁𝗏 with a dominating early game pick in the mid lane. 𝘀ile and B with a super aggressive bot lane to attack them. I expect GAM to be in the bot lane early with Zoe TP, with Kiaya TP. Just try to punish Artemis over and over again. Try to kill 𝘀𝗀𝗋 on this rather squishy Thresh. And then on Cerberus' side, we have late game focus. We have Yado on the mage and also Pan on the late game tank. So much more of what I expected to see in terms of Clash of Styles. Levi forced off his buff with a late invade. Nice.
Late invade.
Oh, the red buff.
Just giving it up though. This could be a 50-50. He gets warded out, but I feel like the fact that he's still here kind of means he has to try and move forward. But they're just not going to let him. He loses so much time from this.
Cerberus' bot lane also invested a lot of time, and now look at B's positioning. B is fancying his chances.
We need to be looking bot lane right now. I don't care about Ornn. I don't care about Ornn, observers. Look at the bottom lane, please! Please! There's a fight! He's just landed a hook! Please! As Artemis is going low, he's gonna burn. The flash forward from B's not good enough. 𝘀𝗀𝗋, his flash is there as well, and whip! The Shadow Isle strikes as the first blood will go over to 𝘀𝗀𝗋 as Caitlyn falls.
How did they win this? Cerberus' bot lane gets away with the kill? How? There was all the positioning was in favor of GAM.
𝘁𝗏 versus 𝘀𝗏𝗋 at level 1. Those stats are absurd.
Oh, Ron actually went for the flay instead of the hook, so that's a little bit of extra damage for auto attacks as well. Let's see this again. So B doesn't go for the hook immediately. They wait. Oh, this is actually so well played for B. They wait out the aftershock go on Artemis, but 𝘀ile doesn't commit to the fight. 𝘀ile could have flashed forward. I think this is actually on 𝘀ile. He could have really committed to the kill. Instead, he tries to flash away and gives up his life. Even if he dies, it doesn't matter. ADC kill against Thresh kill? Who cares? I really think 𝘀ile got too flustered from his first game, but no time to talk about that as another invade is coming in.
It is just the counter invade, though. They do just make sure Levi secures a red buff. 𝘀cie shoved in early against the 𝘁, and Levi now equalizes the buff steal, so that is okay. As he backs off, takes himself a 𝘁𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀. Now we'll just poke in, presumably just get a little bit of vision, or just have a look around, maybe get some Krugs. And that early game skirmish has definitely changed the landscape, I think, for the junglers. All of the summoners being down, surely you want to head down there.
I mean, GAM had the plan to head down there, not only for this game, for the last 2 weeks already, so I don't expect anything different. But you see Levi actually being on top side now, using his pressure from 𝘀cie. They set up 𝘀cie in draft with a lot of draft resources. Draft bucks were spent on this Renekton, 𝘀cie's most played champion of all time. Levi, I'm not sure if I like this dive attempt. Pan is on, he's level 4, he is almost 1k HP. He's building some items as well, so extra tanky compared to other top laners at this stage of the game. And this is a smart recall from Levi. We'll give a little bit of time for 𝘁cie to also reset in time, so no one in the bot lane right now. A little bit of... Oh, never mind me. There's a teleport.
Being used. 𝘀cie𝗰𝗶𝗹𝘀 is good. It's answered immediately by the Victor. If a bubble lands, something could definitely... That was very close to getting Victor on his way out, but both mid laners move, but neither of them find anything.
These teams are not holding back anything. I was talking about TPs into the bot lane, but like this? Okay.
One thing to note is that 𝘁cie did that after a base.
This should be a kill.
𝘂𝗏 did it before. This should be an easy kill. Good flash away from the resonating strike. I don't think they can catch up. It's not a level 6. Oh my god, pun? What?
They are excited. Every single player on this rift is excited right now.
Jinx passive.
Yeah. For some,
everyone's getting excited.
For some, the excitement turns into over-aggression, like Pun right there. For some, it turns into more hesitation than they should have, like Style. So we can see the different people and how they interact with this kind of pressure. Another teleport. This is 𝘀cie.
I just got. Yeah, it's. Oh wait, was the first one a stolen TP or something? Because that's 𝘁cie arriving again.
Wait. Okay.
Hey, how? Spell. No, not spell.
I'm very confused by this as well, because he teleported first in mid lane, so it can't have been a stolen one. So, the only thing that comes to mind is that the TP from 𝘂𝗏 fell on top of him while he was teleporting into the bot lane or something?
Yeah, okay, maybe the second one. Yeah, based on the timer, the second one was the W. I think that must be what it
I think so, but it's still very fortuitous to actually just get gifted a teleport.
Yeah. For sure. Doesn't actually make anything happen, though, of course, as 𝘀cie is just doing a bit of dirty farming here, trying to set Pun as far behind as possible. As you said, they invested draft bucks into Renekton. They need to cash them in with a Z on the way, but he's only level 5. They're going to go under tower against an 𝘁, but
what is this?
Butts away. In comes the Ram. It's just some knockups. He can't actually get the clap. Ooh, very, very close as Levi was shunted against the wall, but Pun fends them off perfectly.
GAM, go back to your winning ways. Why are you trying to dive Pun on this super tanky champion that's level 6 as well? You know you don't have a flash on 𝘀cie, you don't have ultimate on Levi. This was just a horrible play. This never works, but this might.
Oh, but there's a lantern. Oh, but he gets hooked away. No chance. B denies the escape, and Victor will fall.
Okay, B making his presence felt in other lanes after failing. It was not him, it was in Style. I don't want to say anything wrong here. So B playing one of his favorite champions, and we know how well he can play this Blitzcrank 𝘂𝗏. How did this start?
Just a bubble, right?
It's actually also helped by the fact that he picked up the Everfrost to slow him down, and then bubble was very easy to hit.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
That's
𝘀cie.
a cool thing that 𝘀𝗏 can do. That's a really cool thing that champion gets to do. But whatever, it does work out, and GAM get themselves that kill. They are now about 1,500 gold ahead, as they do just have a lead in both top and bot at the moment. Artemis has been put under pressure and has fallen down about 10 CS.
That's to be expected in this bot lane. Both of these champions should dominate their respective matchups, but we have 𝘂𝗏 walking down here.
Ooh, 𝘁𝗏 throws the hook, star flashes.
Okay, Style seems shook by this first game. I'm not liking what I'm seeing.
I feel like he could have netted that.
Yeah, for sure. I think he was fine there. Honestly, I think Style is just a little bit twitchy today. He wants the spot. He doesn't want to go back to the bench. He wants to beat Cerberus himself and just show the coaches, well, 𝘀𝗀𝗃 played more matches. Maybe 𝘀𝗃 has a better KDA, but I won against Artemis. So far, not really putting in the work he was hoping for. And we see some of the biggest deviation in 𝘀𝗀's playstyle we have seen in months. 𝘀𝗀 gave up the first dragon for a top lane dive that failed, and then went for the top lane objective instead. So this is a very different 𝘀𝗀, focusing on the top side from draft to execution. This is all about 𝘁𝗏 and 𝘁𝑎𝑖.
And they are doing well on the 𝘁𝗏 front. The Crocodile very farmed, as we pointed out before, but the question is, can he make anything happen from it? Ornn, who cares if your Ornn's 20 CS down? Honestly. Okay, he's 20 CS down. You knew that coming in. We need to see a Z ult get something done. Levi's finally hit level 6. He's running first strike. He needs to go somewhere, and I don't think it can be top lane.
Yeah, and this Z in general in teamfights is going to be so hard to pilot. We know Levi's an amazing Z player, so he should be the one to make it work. But into the likes of 𝘂𝗏𝗏's Viktor, I think it's very, very difficult to play him consistently, because Viktor's W is an effective tool to deal with the Z. We have Ego's disengage, Ron's disengage on top of that. So if Levi wants to make his presence known, he needs to do it now. He needs to accelerate the game, because so far he's ahead in CS. He's secured some objectives for himself, but that's not good enough. He needs some kills.
That he does. And we are at 10 minutes with the Rift Herald not doing a huge amount in this game. It has been secured, obviously, but we don't have the standard VCS fight over that Rift Herald. Does that favor either team? Normally, every VCS game is kind of decided at that Rift Herald. The fact that hasn't happened, that we have a slow game between two very aggressive teams?
I think it mostly favors Cerberus, even though they have to be careful not to give up too much with the Herald that is going to ensue, the charge, I should say. But generally, slowing down the game, making it more consistent is always good for the late game composition. They don't want to fight right now. The champions are just not as powerful as the champions on 𝘀𝗀's side. That's how the draft played out. 𝘂𝗏𝗏 is still barely at 1 evolution, doesn't even have an item, so you just want to wait, you want to scale, and you know 𝘂𝗏𝗏 is capable of carrying a game even from behind. He has shown us this many, many times on the Viktor. So I think the overall situation is in Cerberus' favor when it comes to that specific play. But of course, 𝘀𝗀 is accelerating ahead. 1.5k gold right now. Still sitting on the Herald. 1 item finish now for Levi as well. So I'm expecting the next move to be Levi ganking someone, killing someone, and then really breaking the game open with the first brick into something like a 3k gold swing.
Yeah, I think we have to see that. It's 30 seconds on Dragon, and Levi, he's returning to the top side. They're trying to cash those draft bucks once again. Pun lurking in this bush. This actually could be a bad position for him to be in. Sees the Z. Now he needs to find a way out. He's got to counter a Ruthless Predator.
Look at B.
Not die. There's the W being used. Ego's on the way. This is going to be a huge scrappy away. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 gets the stun, uses Dominus, gets booted under tower, flashes back away.
Oh, the
and here
disaster!
Comes the kill will go to 𝘂𝗏𝗏. The glorious revolution begins your way as the Viktor strikes.
And I was looking at B and also keeping in mind the 𝘂𝗏𝗏 at TP, but no time to point that out because so much happened at once. But this time it's 𝘂𝗏𝗏 with the advantageous TP, and they just disregarded 𝘂𝗏𝗏's ability to walk up there. And even though B invested time to make it a 3v2, 𝘂𝗏𝗏 just made it a 3v3 again. And then it's tower against no tower. It's also Pun with more CC against 𝘁𝗏𝗏 with only 1 CC tool. So obviously going to go into Cerberus' favor, and they get more gold onto the bot lane as well. So mid lane and bot lane, the 2 most important carries for the late game, get some gold out of this play. Not to speak of Pun, who also secures another kill, which will help with the 20 CS disadvantage.
What were you waiting for?
Yeah, and B arrives, but
it's solid 2-second desync between the players there.
I think they wanted to wait for B, but then they saw Pun positioning closer to the tower, and then the panic struck, right? Because you know B, yeah, he can hook, but Pun can actually completely negate the hooks 𝘁𝗏𝗏, so it's not that effective against Ornn as a champion. Speaking of hooks, nice anticipation from B. So in the end, they had to commit to the fight, and it was a losing play, and they made the call to still commit to the fight, so just chasing losses again, and GAM really falling prey to their own over-aggression so far in the series.
Yeah, and they will pick up a second Drake as well. Where are we going? I think you'd better be getting your marks on. The Canary's dead your way as the gas floods the rift. We head to the Chemtech Rift, the most volatile of them all. Ego gets bubbled up, but the follow-up is not available. And Cerberus, they're still down in gold, but so far it seems like they're dictating the play.
Yeah, they certainly are. For their composition to be this competitive in the early game is a win. Yes, they are behind in gold, but gold is not the metric we have to judge these teams on, at least especially not Cerberus' composition. They're going to bestow items later, their composition is better in teamfights. Regardless, the enemy jungler is basically useless later on in the game. 𝘁𝗏, while he can still impact teamfights, same goes for B, it's not as consistent as the champions on the other side, especially on the Zoe against Victor scale. It's much more Victor focused. So this, being 1k gold behind with 2 dragons is amazing for this team, because they don't even have to snowball the dragons. You don't even have to look at this and say there's a win condition for Cerberus snowballing dragons. No, more importantly, this denies the snowball win condition for GAM. So even if Cerberus falls behind now in the next 10 minutes, say 5k gold, they don't have to contest any of the dragons, as long as they make sure the towers keep standing. Oh, another dive.
And they're going on to Pun once again, but he's so tanky.
Oh,
he gets the redirect. Oh my god, lovely play there, Pun. He does finally fall. Now Ego with the Sonic Wave on 𝘁𝗏. We go down to the bot lane immediately as the Sheriff of 𝘁𝗏𝗺𝗏 is here, trying to take down her enemies, but no. 𝘀𝗏 will endure. And up into the top side, it is Ego trying to show his stuff. As he gets bubbled up, he gets stunned up by the Ruthless Predator, and the CC is just a little bit too much. But down on the bottom side, it never stops here on Summoner's Rift, as Caitlyn has fallen to Victor.
And these two teams are our two best teams. You can see no one is going to go unpunished. No play is unanswered. Yes, Cerberus was a little late on the play in the top lane. Yeah, they got the counter kill with amazing mechanics, but generally the play went GAM's way. Immediately Cerberus knows, okay, we can take a fight in the bot lane because our mid lane is now unlocked to go into the bot lane. Meanwhile, GAM just doubles down on the outplay in top lane. This came down to many good mechanical plays, but in the end, conceptually, it's just a trade of sides. And GAM actually playing against the run of play in the bot lane and engaging here. So the purpose of this engage for GAM is to offset the advantage of 𝘂𝗏 coming in, but then they forget about 𝘂𝗏 coming in, so the communication wasn't crisp enough. Yeah, the hook, it's against the crown, so the crown of the Shattered Queen is too strong against the hook, as for some reason 𝘁𝗏 is here again.
Yeah, just came down to the bottom lane to try and help out. Did a fair bit of damage onto Artemis, as it seems, but he resets. He gets away, no worries. This is a scaling Jinx. Of course, looking very similar to Caitlyn on the other side. They were dead even in CS until just a moment ago. A battle of the ADCs potentially brewing.
After the dust has settled, nothing has moved in this game. We are still at 1k gold advantage. A little bit more now for GAM, potentially moving to 2k. But considering the game has also moved on in just the item timings and overall gold scaling with passive income, it's basically the same difference between the two compositions, with turrets going down in the outer lane, so that's mostly just for gold, not so much for web control. In the end, Cerberus walks away a little bit worse for wear compared to for 2 minutes before this play, but still in an easy position to win this game.
Rift Herald has been started up. Ego is playing very safe in the back of the pit. Doesn't want to mess with 𝘁𝗏𝗆, but has his team lurking in the wings. Pun has access to the Ornhorn as well, can call in the Forge God.
Keep your eyes on Cerberus' bot lane.
The Herald. I think they're just going to evacuate this one. They're going to take your advice. You don't need to fight for this. Just back off. Don't risk it.
Yeah, the mid lane tower falling is really not great, because they basically gave it up for nothing, just for waiting for an opportunity to counter-attack GAM's setup. They should have relinquished control a little bit earlier, because there was no need to go for this. Now they might lose 2 mid towers. That could be the opening GAM needs to snowball this game before Cerberus' team composition comes online.
Yeah, that is 2 towers being picked up for 𝘀𝗀 as in goes the Ram, gets a whole lot of nothing, as onto 𝘁𝗏𝗏 he goes, the little shield is not quite enough. This is a bit of a collapse here from 𝘀𝗏𝗏. The in-him tower is in danger now as they're chasing onto 𝘁𝗏𝗏, but look at all the times being bought as the rest of 𝘀𝗀 charge forward, the ace in the hole goes on to punt, he's very tanky. But he is just not doing anything. Now they're on the wrong side of the wall, 𝘀𝗏𝗋. They need to get over. Levi flashes. The hook doesn't land. What a messy passage of play. Levi just about surfing away from the skill shot.
Well,
I'm not even sure what just happened.
𝘀𝗏𝗏 is our most disciplined team, but even they are not disciplined enough to just by the time just wait patiently for their composition to come online. This was the first huge mistake from 𝘀𝗏𝗏 in the whole series, honestly. They are going to lose a whole lot of their base and potentially the dragon. Ego stealing the dragon could be a way for them to win.
No, he didn't tag it. For a second there, I thought the kick stole it, but no, 𝘁𝗏𝗏 on the side will be going down momentarily, but Pun and 𝘁𝗏𝗏 have reinforced. The rockets are landing in. Bang, bang, bang goes 𝘀𝗏𝗏, as this is so much damage coming out of this 𝘁𝗀. That is going to be 2 kills secured. Has access to the rocket if they want to snipe on B, but I don't think they have any idea where he is. So the Blitzcrank will escape safely.
Gracious gift from 𝘀𝗀. 2 kills over to 𝘁𝗏𝗏 plus the mid lane tower. This is another way to stall the game. Just get map control, make it harder for 𝘀𝗀 to push on the mid wave and move into the sides of the jungle. They lose one of the dragons, but as I said before, it's not super important for them to snowball the dragons. They want the soul eventually, but they don't have to get it now or in 5 minutes. They can wait 10 more minutes, and the 2 kills for 𝘁𝗏𝗏 are going to go a long way to accelerate 𝘁𝗏𝗏's item breakpoints. We finally see a Gale Force 𝘁𝗀. I know our analysts have talked about this many times now, and the Gale Force was one of the reasons why 𝘁𝗏𝗏 overchased into the base, because with the Gale Force speed and the Gale Force charge, more importantly, he got behind his minion wave and 𝘁𝗏𝗏 had to overextend into the base to die. Or to kill 𝘁𝗏𝗏 and then die afterwards, I should say. So 𝘁𝗏𝗏 finally heeding all of the advice given up by our great analysts. Let's see if he can carry his team one more time.
He's going to have to, but of course he does have strong support from Yado, as they both scale up, as you said. Over on the other side, we do see Levi kind of bouncing back from a slow early game, normally a death knell for Zed. He has actually played the last couple of fights with some really great mechanics, and is still a threat onto the 𝘀cie members, particularly that 𝘁𝗀. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 has been excellent on the Zoe. The bubbles have been heat-seeking. So this game still has a lot of give in it your way.
Look at this.
1.5k gold lead, irrelevant.
Curious decision there from Pun to bestow his first item onto Ego of all people. So making Ego basically a top lane Lee Sin at this point of the game.
I mean, you know why. It's for the ego.
Ah, yeah, Ego probably demanded
You gotta
it.
sate his ego. You gotta sate the ego, you know? Pump him up. It's good.
Unfortunately, he
get
has
him
a
feeling himself.
ceaseless hunger to show himself now, I believe.
Yep, I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Oh, no, it disappeared again. The market, I'm okay. Maybe it was just a spectator bug.
I think he's got the upgrade. I think it's just a spectator bug now. That would make more sense, but we don't know. We'll try and figure it out as we go, as 𝘀𝗀 are setting up a bit of a play here. They've got a death bush. 𝘁𝗏𝗏 coming on out. B is the one to watch, but he has to navigate around this mid minion wave. Can't throw the hook out quite yet. And 𝘀𝗏𝗏 are happy to posture with them.
Oh, flash from B.
Flash for flash.
Okay.
Played. They just continue to dance. The tango of death.
So, I'm not really sure what 𝘀𝗀 is trying to accomplish with this. I'm just trying to flank an almost inviolable team composition for 𝘀𝗏𝗏. This is not the way to fight for 𝘀𝗀, and this is really great engage.
Oh, but they managed to split the waters as the Ornn wants to come in. He does manage to get onto the backside there. He hooked up, knocks up 3. That's absolutely massive. Ego dive, but onto the backside. He's on top of Star.
Yado!
Damage, and in comes the robot. Beat Boot. Victor's here as he picks up 2. 𝘁𝗏𝗏𝗏 will clean up the Renekton on the other side. Zed just has to run from Ego, and 𝘀𝗀 have been routed. They leave the battlefield, tail tucked between their legs.
And this is why you don't want to fight this kind of composition straight up 5v5. They split up, they try to make the situation chaotic to make 𝘀𝗏𝗏's composition attackable, but 𝘀𝗏𝗏 just stays together, pull the trigger. Pun is too tanky. Levi tried to ult Pun. What a futile a thing to do. Apologies. And we have Baron Nashor going down. This is now 𝘀𝗶𝗏 firmly in a winning position.
Oh, they're going to try and pick up a kill on the way out, but Levi gets cleaned up. Ego, once again, whispering summer finals, and now he might be whispering and wait for winter finals, as 𝘀𝗏 are looking like the best team here, and this was the battle between the best two. Ego goes deep, B pulls him on out, they do take him down finally. Pun chasing onto 𝘁𝗏, gets bubbled up. This 𝘀𝗀 buying all the time she possibly can, gets a random Gale Force to buy.
Where you going?
This little girl refuses to die, but finally recognizes it's her bedtime. 𝘂do does block up the bullet for Pun, has to play around 𝘁𝗏 now, drops out Chaos Storm as he charges on forward. The mutation must survive as he picks up another one, and 𝘀𝗏 are just better.
It's not over. Pun is here to continue the fight.
For a moment as he will move forward onto B, looking for this blitzcrank as he escapes into the gas. Another teleport. Style is in trouble.
Style!
Here comes the GAM. Ding, ding, ding. No, the knockup does not quite land. Style does manage to get away.
And Style misses up one of the crucial 𝘁𝗏 mechanics. He always wants to trap towards the enemy base, because the teleport always spawns towards their base. And his trap did not arm. But now Victor
has been caught out, goes Golden, has 3 on top of him. Can Pun get in there to save him? I don't think he can, not when there's a Zed bearing down on him, but look at all of that damage. They trade 1 for 1. Style is spooled up, the lethal tempo is tagged up by Ego, but the bubble saves him for now. They're moving on back, B will get caught out. Now 𝘁𝗏, you are on the wrong side of town. The Chemtech Drake is started up, and 𝘀𝗏 may lose 1, but they will not lose anything more.
Sometimes when you know your chances are dwindling, you can't win the map, just try to make it as chaotic as possible and try to make a solo queue game out of the professional game, but 𝘀𝗏 is having none of that. They even thrive in the solo queue environment as well. 1 kill on 𝘂𝗏, which is a shutdown, so at least a little bit of gold back in the pockets of one of their players, but 𝘀𝗏 secure everything around the whole map. All the objectives are falling in their favor. Do we really need to replay this? We want to replay the team fight. We haven't actually seen the important team fight. Yes, it's blind hook. How nice.
Kind of blind. It was pretty obvious where he was going. Yeah, and look how much time he buys. Like, he is 100% dead from that death mark, but he still just dances around left and right, shoes laced up tight, plays it so well, and then it's just followed up by Ego plays, Pun doing a bit of a Pun v9.
Yeah, and Style has missed his acceleration timing. Now he's behind on 𝘁𝗏, and on 6 items, yeah, maybe he can... If the game goes there for some reason, maybe Style can carry, but right now, he doesn't even damage Ego, not to speak of Pun, who can probably stay in this... there we go. This is the important fight, and what a great collapse from 𝘀𝗏. Look at Pun. He's confident enough to go for this knock... Oh, no, he was actually grabbed by B, my mistake. But then...
There's the knock-up.
Immediate knocked up, and this is all just the 𝘂𝗏 show. 𝘂𝗏 is on the other side of the team fight, but he's still killing everyone over there with his ultimate, and 𝘂𝗏 has shown us so many times that he's the best Victor player. I think it's GAM disrespecting the preseason. One of the strongest champions in the game right now, especially on 11-23, is Victor, and I think 𝘀𝗏 and 𝘂𝗏 especially have definitely been the best Victor teams and players. I thought they might pick the Victor away for 𝘁𝗏 and top lane, who has shown us one Victor, but instead it goes to 𝘂𝗏, and the 3rd game of Victor, the 3rd time he is running away with the team fights.
Yeah, you got to give some credit to 𝘁𝗏. He's been heat-seeking with these bubbles, but unfortunately it's just not enough on its own. The 𝘀𝗏 can't do it all. As they do check that brush, Levi has been utterly ineffective on this Zed, has been picking his targets poorly, and can he find a better one here as the double knock-up? Ego goes flying into the backside, there's the death mark straight onto him, he has a big shield, he dashes on out, he goes low, but he does not go down, and Artemis is free firing. It's 1 kill back on Pun, but that is the ultimate consolation prize, as they don't even have minions. They'll go through the backdoor plating, take your tower, they'll take your kills, and 𝘀𝗏, my word, all 3 heads are chomping.
When the composition with the On and Ron OP on Thresh, Victor ends up tanking the tower after a team fight. You know something went wrong. They just don't have the damage to strike back. Pan buys so much time. He can just walk in there. B is ineffective because Pan is always just on top of him. So B is not a champion. There's nothing 𝘁𝗺 can do to kill Pan. And yeah, he goes down to the tower. But it took the effort of 5 members while Cerberus was fighting 2 members and the tower on the other side. So this is just looking doomed for 𝘀's composition. The only way I can see for them to win this game is if they somehow get some objective bounties and get Style to 4 or 5 items. But he's not even on 3 yet, so that is so far out of the window.
And what an absolute statement game this is from Cerberus. You know, we were going back and forth. I think most of us were saying this is going to be a 2-1 no matter which way it goes. 𝘀, they have this incredible early game, and Cerberus has shown weakness in the early game. Perhaps the matchup is just 𝘀 favored, despite them both being an incredible team. I didn't see a weakness in the early game here, 𝘂cie. I just saw the best team in the VCS.
You can say that again. I think 𝘀 mostly has to look at the drafts again. Definitely execution as well. I think the top side focus in draft and then also in game, though I like that they stuck to their draft plan, because it doesn't make sense to draft for top and then not play for top. But the whole top focus was not the way to go, in my opinion. B with a grab. This could be an opportunity.
Playing it well, but they just can't follow it up because 𝘂𝗺 bearing down from the side just draws too much aggro. In comes the Ram, the knock up onto 𝘁𝗍. Artemis, the rocket follows him down, and you can hide in the shadows all you want, 𝘁𝗍. But honestly, mate, this game, you're the one that's in the shadows, and the shadow is being cast by Ego. As this is a jungle gap, it's a top gap, it's an AD gap, it's just a team gap.
And most importantly, the mid gap. 𝘂𝗺 has not been getting enough spotlight on the cast today. We have so many people to talk about, but I think this one is definitely the 𝘂𝗺 show. What a performance. Sadly, we don't get to see the damage totals, or at least the damage scores in-game, but this has to be one of the biggest mid lane carries we've seen so far. He's dominating. Not that 𝘁𝗺 has played a bad game. It's a very different playstyle for this champion, but this should be all she wrote after this soul is collected. 𝘀 is not even making a move to contest this one, so it's Chemtech soul, it's Baron, it's a 10k gold lead almost. This is over, and I'm getting more and more hype for the players, because we have a contender. 𝘀 looked like they were back in form, like they might just dominate the playoffs again, but all of these assumptions are thrown out of the window now, because Cerberus is the best team.
That they are. This is just a dominating performance. We were waiting for a team that could possibly challenge Cerberus, and we were looking at 𝘀. Of course we were. Who else could we possibly look at? But with this kind of performance, surely Cerberus finally has playoff success. They blow the horn. Pun. Oh, I mean, he's got to make a mistake eventually, right? As 𝘁𝗍 tries to buy time and does actually manage to escape. Some decent mechanics. No, not quite. Decent mechanics there on the Zed, but it's meaningless in the end.
Yeah, and in the end, this is not super consequential for the rest of the split, right? Cerberus is very likely still going to finish top even if they lost today. It's just the show-off for the players, and this should give confidence to Cerberus. I don't think this is really going to thwart 𝘀's approach to players, or just thwart their claim for the title, but I think this can help Cerberus, because they are the playoff chokers. They are known to lose every playoff series. They have been one of the biggest disappointments when it came to best of fives ever in this league. They have made some adjustments. Ego is their new jungler, their play caller in the early game plays as well, I would assume, from how he's conducting himself on the Rift.
I think so.
And maybe that's what it took to get this regular season team into the playoffs as well. We have to wait and see.
A collapse beginning onto Ego, but he has a Chemtech soul and he has so much health of his own. Pun calling in the Ram just to buy them space. The inhib will fall. Another bubble lands onto the Ornn, but once again, it is meaningless. Do you even really want to hook him in? He's so tough, has the stone plate, has that Chemtech soul, as I mentioned, and now they bear down towards the Nexus. All 3 heads. It's a cacophony of barking as Cerberus is activated. 𝘁𝗺 comes in for a last-ditch attempt, but I'm afraid he just has to crock and roll on out of there as he will be cleaned up momentarily. Then that will be Levi actually picking up kill. Finally, he kills his nemesis of Pun, but it doesn't matter because they're just going to trade it out onto the rift as Artemis is bearing down. She's excited, and good God, your way, I'm excited at this server.
Quadra?
With a little bit of a show off. They want the pentakill. Come on in, and there it is. It's a pentakill for Artemis, and they move in. Cerberus will definitively be the best team in the VCS. They are unstoppable. They are 12-0, and they are incredible.
What a performance from Cerberus. They have silenced all the doubters for the next month at least. Going into playoffs now definitively as the #1 spot. Next week doesn't matter for them. They're 3 games ahead of GAM. They secure the 2-0 head-to-head against GAM and are still undefeated in series. They also caused GAM to lose the first games ever on the preseason patch. So really upsetting all the things that came into this one. They might actually move into the most dominant regular season of all time. I was not willing to expect to even anticipate this being a possibility because I thought at some point they must lose, right? They must lose. But this team is really showing up every single time they take to the rift. What a performance. Cerberus beats GAM 2-0.
That they do, and we will go straight back over to the analyst desk. Have fun with this one, guys, because my word, what an incredible game, what an incredible series. Take it away.
Second pentakill of the season, second pentakill of the day, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, hello and welcome back on the VCS English analyst desk. What a performance it was. I mean, it was a demonstration of power from Cerberus Esports coming in. 𝘀cie, I guess we can say they are, at least for now, the best team in the VCS.
I mean, at one point, you gotta say it. I mean, they are now 12-0. They just defeated GAM, the only really team that was in discussion for this place, up with Cerberus. Just now lost again to them, this time even more decisively than the first time. And coming into this series, we were kind of expecting GAM to be like even a slight favorite now because of their recent form. And Cerberus just shut us up really good, I would say. I mean, from draft to the execution, they were just the better team today. And the better team, of course, over the whole split, they are right now, sure. They just have the playoffs basically left for them to really prove that they deserve a title.
𝘀cie, in the early game, it didn't look that bad for GAM Esports. I mean, of course, they picked an early game comp, but they executed it, especially when you look at the at how much the CS were in the lanes. Not too bad. What went wrong after that?
Well, a lot of things went wrong. Not so much because of GAM misexecuting, but what I noticed through the game is that every time that GAM tried to make a play to extend their advantage, Cerberus knew perfectly how to answer it, either by cross-mapping or with a teleport and outnumbering them, or with an objective right following up. It's like Cerberus had something prepared for every play that GAM organized. And that is impressive because it shouldn't be this large of a gap between the top 2 teams in the VCS. And this was a statement series by Cerberus. And it can be beneficial for GAM that they got shown a lot of things that they can fix before the finals. Because they are making finals, but it can't be such defeat again in a best of 5. So good, absolutely stellar performance by Cerberus, but GAM has a lot that they can work on, and this series provided a perfect blueprint of how Cerberus plays and what GAM needs still to close this gap.
And I think there were some silver linings for GAM this series. I mean, they had like this mid-game point where they were like 3k gold ahead, had this one Herald push where they got a really good dive late onto Artemis with 𝘀cie, really exploding him with his bubbles, and they were like very close to just destabilizing Cerberus there. But Cerberus kind of showing like a new identity to a VCS team there, where they're like picking the late game comp, stabilizing very well, and not getting tilted, and not just keeping going for bad fights, and just go for the fights they really want to take on their end as well. And just with Victor coming in with his takedowns, I just want to highlight a certain other play. We are having a replay for that as well. And there we see like the kind of the breaking point of the game where Cerberus really came online with their comp and then just could display how much of a team they are and how big their performance really is. And as we see the replay here, it will be on the 22-minute mark. Cerberus already, like, they're like slightly down, but not by a whole lot. And here they really see their angle. They just used the bigger death rocket to really have a check onto the Baron, because there was a chance that GAM might just rush the Baron down because there was no vision coming in from the side of Cerberus. And here is where they see the angle. It is like an ideal place to really push the Forge God of Ornn through, and Pan really sees a really good opening here as he just now casts the ultimate, and really there GAM is really split. And usually now I would really fear 𝘀cie renekton. He's going in for the flank, but here we see 𝘂do on the Victor, just forces him out because 𝘂do at the Victor is in a position where he can just zone a melee off himself, and here 𝘀cie just says, screw it, I just try to go in anyway. Goes for the backline dive here, but 𝘂do is just too good. I mean, just uses the gravity field over there to just buy some time here, and Artemis can just finish him off. And like this, the backline dive just doesn't work, and this just shows how good Cerberus is and also how good Victor as a champion is right now.
And with that, yeah, the Cerberus esports started to snowball the game. It ended with a pentakill. So yeah, right now, Artemis esports, they are maybe the best team in the VCS. 𝘀𝗁𝗏, do you think that there is a possibility that other teams can, can get closer to them regarding to playoffs?
That's a question with a very straightforward answer, which is no. This is going to be our finals, and despite this was not a close game. It was like all Cerberus, but despite that, we know that GAM is still miles ahead of 𝘀𝗀 and probably BTS or whoever comes forth. And regardless of next week, Cerberus is going to pick probably fourth game. So there is a very small chance that maybe 𝘀𝗀 can take a game or two of GAM. All our eyes are on the finals, on Cerberus versus GAM, and this was a fantastic appetizer for that event.
I mean, you're totally right. And there is also another good news for you at home, because we do have one more game today, and it will be a banger for sure as well, because it is the game, maybe a deciding game in the race for the playoffs between SBTC Esports and 𝘀𝗀. 𝘀𝗀, we've seen the team earlier today, and they looked very, very strong. So let's see how both teams will perform. We are back at 2 o'clock. See you then. Take care and stay tuned.